So Matt, we are live on YouTube
Cool, cool.
and we can get started whenever you're ready.
All right. Thanks, Jerry. So again, my name's Matt Dixon. I'm a meteorologist at the UK Ag Weather Center. Hope everyone had a great 4th of July. I personally went over to Owensboro, Kentucky. They had a great fireworks show on the river. So props to them over in Western Kentucky. But today we're focusing in on June. What happened in June? We started out dry, then got a little wet. That's continued into early July now. The first half of July looks like we're going to continue this wet trend. I got back from vacation this, I guess it was yesterday, and I was out of town in a cool, pretty dry climate out in Colorado, and got back and saw I had 5 inches of rain in my rain gauge in Georgetown, Kentucky. So my grass was a little tall, to say the least. But let's get started on this. Again, July 2023. Just the general information again, presented by the Kentucky Climate Center at WKU in partnership with NIDIS and in coordination with the Midwest Drought Early Warning System. Production delivery, a product of many partners across the state, including Chip Zimmer over at the Division of Water, and of course Jerry there and his crew at the Kentucky Mesnet and Kentucky Climate Center. Our next webinar is scheduled for the first Thursday of August, August 3rd at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Should change that to Eastern Daylight Time, and 1 p.m. Central Daylight Time. We are recording this on YouTube. We're live on YouTube now. So if you have any questions throughout, feel free to put them in the chat box, and we'll try to get to them as soon as possible. Take a look at this image here. I've been at UK since 2012. I don't ever remember seeing anything like this since I've been here. And I grew up in Southern Indiana. I don't ever recall seeing smoke like this in Southern Indiana either. So these hazy skies from the Canadian wildfires, they've been a issue, mainly an air quality issue throughout much of June. We've kind of done away with that here in the past week as we've had these storm complexes push through the area and nudge these smoky skies out of Kentucky. But it looked like, at least to me, it was worst on June 28th. And a friend of mine, Scott Moore, he's a videographer with Kentucky Weather or Not. He took a video across UK campus last, I believe this was Wednesday, June 28th. And you can just see how bad it was looking at UK's football stadium on the south side of campus. So very hazy conditions. UK was not alone. This was the case for many across Kentucky. But yeah, so far in July, we're good. Again, same outline as previously. We'll look at recent conditions, agricultural impacts, the drought impacts, look at outlooks moving forward, and then a quick question and discussion session. Look at the images to the left. Just going back to those smoky skies, the top image. This is what meteorologists, maybe you'll see it on your 6 p.m. newscast at night, but this is just another look at satellite imagery. Something called geocolor satellite imagery. And I believe at this time we had a low pressure center wrapping up to our northeast. And with these low pressure centers, you have counterclockwise rotation. And you can kind of see that milky haze around that low pressure center coming down into Kentucky on northwest flow. So those hazy skies, once again, we saw them numerous times throughout the month of June. This was another instance on June 16th. Looking at the image below, we got into the end of June and we saw numerous instances of severe weather. And this is a look at one of them. It's a little hard to see, but this is a picture of a shelf cloud. I don't know if you guys can see my mouse kind of circle the shelf cloud in the picture, but this is a shelf cloud at WKU Farm on June 29th. Usually whenever you see these shelf clouds, it means there's some pretty strong, maybe severe winds right behind it. So if you ever see one of these shelf clouds push through your area, it might be time to take shelter. So just an FYI moving forward. Looking at this past week, precipitation wise, it's been awfully wet. Again, we started off the month of June on the dry side the first couple of weeks, but the past couple of weeks, most of Kentucky has seen significant rainfall. The highest totals have been across central Kentucky, portions of the southern bluegrass. Again, I told you I came home to 5 inches in my rain gauge this past week. A lot of rainfall here in the southern bluegrass. And that's been the case across west central Kentucky too. Some places seeing 5 to 6+ inches just in the past week. Now, the state average came in at about 2.32 inches. This is based on data at the Ag Weather Center, and that's about 1.21 inches above normal over that 1 week time span. So quite a bit of the state, even these dark green colors, that's 1.5 to 2 inches. The light green colors out here in Western Kentucky, yes, you saw a little bit less in the way of rainfall out that way, but still light green, 1/2 to 1 inch. We'll take this as corn starts to go into those reproductive stages, and water stress could be a major issue. There are some folks, some spots, they didn't see the rainfall. We look over here in the Pennyroyal region, some spots maybe under 1/10 of an inch. So got to start doing that correct rain dance out that way. So, but everyone else, quite a bit of rainfall. Most of the state over 2 inches the past 7 days. Looking the past 2 weeks, again, the latter half of June was pretty wet. This carried over this 14-day period. Most of the state saw 2 to 4+ inches. You can see those higher totals across the southern bluegrass and west central Kentucky that happened this past week. But the problem this past month has really been western Kentucky. Yes, got some rainfall this past week. Definitely need a lot more over that way. Over the past 14 days, some of those folks in western Kentucky, 1/2 inch to 1 inch of rainfall over a 2 week time period. The problem is this past week we've started getting hot and humid again. So ET rates starting to go up. If you're missing on the rainfall, that's a problem. State average over this 14-day period, 3.45 inches, about 1.25 inches above normal. But again, the state average 3.45. Western Kentucky, the Purchase region, the Eastern Pennyroyal region, some folks below 1 inch. So most of the state hit the rainfall, some didn't. So back 30 days, you see that trend here, South Central Kentucky, Central Kentucky, seeing some decent rainfall totals, an average of 5.75 inches across the state, about 1 inch above normal. Western Kentucky, still below normal. We go back 60 days, we start seeing those below normal trends starting to show up. The state averaged 9 inches over the past 2 months. This goes back to May 6th through the July 4th holiday. And Western Kentucky, 4 to 6 inches in some spots over the past 60 days, well below normal over that time period. And then 90 days, you really start seeing the deficits show up. The state average almost 11 inches, which is over 3.5 inches below normal. So looking more at those departures, those precipitation departures over the past 30 days up here at the top left, most of the state running 2 to even 4+ inches above normal. Much of northeastern Kentucky near normal, maybe some shades of below normal precipitation totals up there in I can't remember the name of that region, pardon me, but western Kentucky, yellowish colors, tannish colors, 1 to 3 inches below normal over the past 30 days. Moving that 60-day period over in the top right, still seeing a lot of those blue and green shades showing up, but more yellow up here in the northern bluegrass, and then again over in western Kentucky. We go back 60 days, those yellow shades are 2 to 4 inches below normal. You get in those tan areas, and you're 4 to 6 inches below normal. So going to 90 days, you're seeing more in the way of yellow and tan yet again. The past 2-3 months have been pretty dry across the state outside the end of June. We did see 4.43 inches on average last month, which is slightly above normal, but that was mainly in the way of all these storm complexes we saw at the end of the month. So this is the first month of above normal precipitation since, let's see, April, I guess, or I'm sorry, March it would be. April, May were both below normal. But again, some bouts of heavy rainfall there over the last week of June led to some bouts of flooding across the state. So you get 2, 3, 4 inches of rainfall in 24 hours, and you're sure to have some runoff. Looking at temperatures, we got lucky this past month looking at temperatures in itself. It was a rather cool month of June outside that last week of the month. Overall, for the month, the average state temperature was almost 71 degrees. This is about 2 degrees below normal for this time of year. You can look at the average temperature departure from the mean in this map over to the right. And most of Kentucky is in this greenish color. We're looking at 2, maybe 3 inches or 3 inches, 3 degrees below normal for the month. So it was a cooler month overall. Something I want to point out, it was a different June. Not only was it cool, but if you walked outside through, let's say, the third week of June, it just felt like there was no humidity outside. We had low dew points in place, and it felt more like spring most of the time. These low dew points, we had temperatures drop pretty significantly at night. The moisture wasn't there to hold heat in the atmosphere, and we saw some pretty extensive low temperatures at times. Here's an example from the Kentucky Mesnet in the top left. This was on June 13th. This is a look at the top 10 lowest temperatures across the state that day. And most every one of those top 10, mid 40s for lows. Now, normal lows for June 13th is low to mid 60s across the state. So we're talking 15, 20 plus degrees below normal when we're looking at low temperatures. So there were times in June, I mean, most of the time we're running our air conditioners at this time, but there were times in June, multiple times in June, you could just open the windows and enjoy the crisp, dry air filtering into the region. But this was a top 20 coldest June on record. This data goes back to 1895, over 125 years in this database, and we just saw one of our coldest Junes on record and the second straight month of below normal temperatures we've seen in Kentucky. Something I'm going to change this a little bit. This did have an impact on growing degree day accumulations. That wasn't a major impact. This is a way to relate temperature to the development of crops across the world. In this case, the Midwest, and we're running about 100 to 150 degree days below normal for the past 3 months, which ultimately isn't a big deal, but you may have seen the delayed development in some ways earlier in May, June, maybe April. But something else I want to point out, I'm going to change this top 10 over here to top 10 air temperature maxes. And we got to the end of June and it got hot. Summer heat returned to the area, humidity returned to the area. This is a look at the top 10 maximum temperatures on June 25th. Here in Kentucky, Union County, you led the way at 99.3 degrees. I know there were some locations out in Western Kentucky that hit the century mark this past week. There was a Heat advisories in place, excessive heat warnings. We had, with the increased humidity, we had heat indexes, what it really feels like to the human body, going well over a century mark. Some dangerous heat in place. We had livestock heat stress move into the danger to emergency category. So myself, I was preaching to these cattle producers, we got to start thinking about precautions moving forward. This was our first, what it seemed like, real dose of summer heat this year. But something else I'll mention in terms of dew points, one of my rules of thumb, if you have dew points in the 50s this time of year, it feels pretty good outside. That's what we were seeing the second week of June. We get into the end of June, where we're at now, we got dew points in the 70s. That's whenever it starts to feel a little miserable to be outside. So mid to upper 60s, all right, you can feel the humidity in there, but once you top 70 degrees, that's when you get that real muggy feeling. So maybe a fun fact to take with you after this webinar. Looking at the U.S. drought monitor, the key word is improvement today. So this is what the U.S. drought monitor looked like on June 13th, 2023. Most of Kentucky was abnormally dry. We had some sections there in the bluegrass moving down to the Lake Cumberland region showing moderate drought. That was also over in the Southern Purchase area, where they just kept on missing out on rainfall. You can see the rest of the Corn Belt isn't looking great at this time. June 13th, a big portion of Missouri is moderate drought plus, some in the extreme drought category. You go out into eastern Nebraska, central Kansas, large portion of that area in extreme exceptional drought, the worst level of drought you can be in. Now, I'm going to change this map. This was June 13th. Let's go to the latest update that came out this morning. Eastern Nebraska, Kansas, northern Missouri, they're actually looking a little worse. But here in Kentucky, we're looking better. We've seen a decent amount of rainfall this past week, numerous storm complexes moving through. There was this heat dome over the southern Great Plains. It did nudge into western Kentucky a little bit, but you had these, what you call ridge riders. You had a ridge of high pressure across the Great Plains, and the storm complexes were riding that ridge northwest to southeast into the bluegrass state, providing multiple opportunities for rainfall. And doing so, as I said earlier, a bunch of Kentucky saw exceptional rainfall. And we went from a large portion of Kentucky in either abnormally dry, in the abnormally dry category, or moderate drought. And now most of Kentucky is absent of those drought delineations. The one exception, northern bluegrass area, and again western Kentucky didn't see quite the totals as the rest of the state, but we're seeing improvement. And by and large, we'll talk about the forecast and outlooks here in a second. It looks like improvement will hopefully continue into the future. This is a look at the drought monitor class change over the past 2 weeks. If we look at those two maps I just showed you, any places you see green, you're seeing improvement. Any place you see brown, you're going in the wrong direction. So Missouri, Iowa, northern Illinois going in the wrong direction. Here in Kentucky, we're going in the right direction. So we want to see those green colors on this map, and hopefully that continues. Looking at soil moisture and groundwater, again, the key word is improvement. Now, looking at the top left, this is the soil moisture anomaly change from July 5th to June 30th. Again, green colors we want to see. We're seeing those light, darker shades of green across most of the bluegrass state over this past week. Now, looking at these other three maps on here, you'll notice these are from June 11th. The two over on the right are from the USDA, shows top soil moisture on top, subsoil moisture on bottom, both the amount of subsoil moisture and topsoil moisture in the percent short to very short category on the crop report. Now, back on June 11th, 66% of Kentucky topsoil was rated percent short to very short. 59% of Kentucky subsoil was rated percent short to very short. We look over to the left, looking at stream flows. Most of the state saw low to much below normal stream flows at that time. So we were getting dry. We saw multiple weeks of dry conditions. It wasn't looking great. We needed rainfall. Guess what? We got the rainfall. Now I'm changing these maps, the two over on the right and the stream flow map, to reflect what we see on July 2nd and July 5th in the case of stream flows. Looking at subsoil moisture and topsoil moisture, we saw those percentages of short to very short greatly improve. Again, I'm going to go back. Topsoil moisture, we're at 66%. Now we're at 29% in the short to very short category. Subsoil, we're at 59%. We're now at 34%. So we basically cut those percentages in half. That's what we definitely want to see. We still have a ways to go, and hopefully that improvement continues over the next few weeks. Look at stream flows over on the far left. We went from most of these streams in the low to much below normal category, and now we're seeing much above normal in those dark blue shades. So green, we're near normal. So again, what we want to see here in the state of Kentucky. Moving on to severe weather. Wasn't a great month, mainly the past week, 2 weeks. All these storm complexes coming through Kentucky, a lot of them produced either large hail or damaging winds. Again, those shelf clouds I showed you earlier, you're usually seeing some strong to severe winds behind them, and we saw quite a few of those this past month. We even saw a handful of tornadoes. So this map and those tan colors there just showing damaging winds across the state, the purple, the large hail. Now, looking at some of these images here, the top right, July 2nd, there were 2 tornadoes confirmed from the National Weather Service in Louisville, one in Anderson County, one in Casey County, both relatively weak tornadoes, EF1, nonetheless, damage incurred. You look at the bottom right, another picture of a shelf cloud from Steve. I hope I say your name right, Steve Seawright. This was through the NWS Paducah's summary of this event. But this is what you look for whenever you're thinking about a shelf cloud. So again, strong damaging winds potential on the backside of these. NWS Paducah, they had a fun time. I shouldn't say a fun time, but they were busy between June 29th and July 2nd. All these polygons over here on this left image were all the severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings in the red that they issued over that period. So in total, they issued 154 severe thunderstorm / tornado warnings during this period. So round of applause to those folks over at the NWS in Paducah. They were extremely busy this past week. Now, moving on to Kentucky ag impacts. Earlier in the month, again, we weren't looking so great. We had tons of reports of leaf rolling, curling, however you want to say it, out in the fields when we're looking at the corn crop. It was a dry heat, but that's not necessarily a good thing for agriculture. We might like it. Those lower dew points, it's pretty comfortable to the human body. But in terms of agriculture, your ET rates are going to go on the rise with a dry heat in place. This was the case back in 2012, and you know how decimated Kentucky agriculture was back in that year. But while it was dry at this time, this wasn't necessarily a critical time for water stress. 2012, that dry heat hit at the absolute wrong time. Kind of where we're going right now as corn is going in tassel and silk. Luckily, though, we're getting the rain. We had extreme rainfall this past week. Portions of Western Kentucky missed out, but they still got some rain. Back in 2012, there was literally nothing. So this will be something to watch moving forward in the case of Western Kentucky. But again, forecast outlooks do look favorable moving forward. Earlier in the month, pastures took a downhill turn, but they're in the process of recovering now. Something else that I'll mention is that hay yields were down across the board this year. I'm sure a combination of dry conditions, that cooler air in place. This was even the case on fertilized ground. So I heard numerous instances about 75% of normal hay yields. Again, you're going to get the most yield in that first cut. So this will be something else to watch as we move forward. Hopefully we do away with these dry conditions and we don't have to worry about shortages as we go into this upcoming winter. Beans have always been a pretty resilient crop. In some cases this year, though, double crop has struggled to germinate. There's been some times where they've even had a hard time getting in the ground because of how dry it was. On a positive note, dry conditions means disease risk has been was down for most of June. And I was hearing that wheat yields were actually pretty good this year. Again, severe weather. We had problems with large hail at times, damaging winds. You can see this picture over on the right from Dr. Lee showing some corn that was decimated by the hail. Ultimately, you really have to walk the fields to determine the damage extent. Here's a table over on the left showing the estimated yield loss percentage based on how bad the corn crop got hit at particular growth stages. So you can go over here to the growth stage on the left. Again, we're starting going this tassel silk now. And you see these higher percentages once you get into these reproductive stages of the corn crop. So this will be something that we watch as we go through the month of July. Again, large hail was a problem this past week. Hopefully most of Kentucky producers dodge this large hail, but this is what can happen if you do get those 1-2 inch hailstones move through your corn crop. So again, we're looking all right in agriculture, looking at crop progress. 23% of the corn crop is silking. Almost all beans are in the ground now. Some are actually starting to set pods, 18% blooming. Winter wheat harvest is basically or almost done for the year, 85% complete. Looking at crop conditions, most in that fair to good category. Corn 37-46% in that fair to good category. We look at pasture 35-48. That's what we want to see. I would like to see some of those numbers go into that excellent category, and hopefully that happens here in the next month. But we'll see how this changes as we head into the start of August. So looking forward, we have additional opportunities for rainfall over the upcoming week, mainly this weekend, and additional chances next week. This is the map we want to see, especially if you're living out in Western Kentucky. The latest, this is from the Weather Prediction Center, looking at the 7-day forecasted precipitation. And see a lot of purple on that map. That's 1.5 inches plus across most of the states. So again, this time of year, and this is my opinion, let's see the rain. I'd rather see too much rain than the dry conditions, especially this time of year. Going out 6 to 10 day outlooks. This is going into the middle of July, that second week of July. showing maybe some seasonally cooler air trying to filter into the state at that time, but above normal precipitation. Again, these darker shades of green here, we're looking at the forecaster's confidence and whether we'll see below, near, above normal temperatures and precipitation. We see those light green shades here in the state of Kentucky. So by no means is it a guarantee we're going to see above normal precipitation, but forecasters are favoring above normal over this region across much of the Corn Belt there across the Midwest. Looking at the 8 to 14 day temperature and precipitation outlooks, it looks like heat's going to try to build back into the bluegrass state, while we do have a little bit better odds for above normal precipitation over this time. Looking at July as a whole, it is taking that above normal temperatures and above normal precipitation we're seeing over the first couple weeks of July, and you're seeing that transition over into the full month of July. Sorry, but hopefully this pans out. We need this above normal rainfall to continue, especially as we go into these pretty critical stages of corn and bean development over the next month. Looking at the seasonal outlook for July, August, and September, favoring above normal temperatures and equal chances it could really go either way in terms of precipitation. So I personally, I don't put a lot into these seasonal temperature and precipitation outlooks. It does give you a little bit of a hint of what we can expect, but we're definitely going to see ups and downs during this 3-month period, no doubt. And in terms of agriculture, my field, those ups and downs definitely matter. So looking out farther, I know Jerry and Chip have been talking about this the past couple of months. I'll lean a little bit further into what the latest information is in terms of the strong El Nino. Again, this is based mainly on sea surface temperatures out in the equatorial Pacific Ocean. They are running warmer than normal, so we expect El Nino conditions moving forward. Over to the left is a look at the probabilities of seeing La Nina near neutral conditions or El Nino conditions in terms of that El Nino southern oscillation out in the Pacific Ocean. And looking out into next early spring, late winter, all probabilities lean toward El Nino conditions moving forward. So the main, I should say, El Nino typically hits peak intensity during the winter months. So that's typically whenever we see the impacts of El Nino here in the lower Ohio Valley. And with that, during the winter months, we typically see dry conditions for this moderate to strong El Nino. And something I'll also mention is during the fall months, there's typically fewer hurricanes and less intense hurricanes in the Atlantic basin down there in the Gulf of Mexico, Southern Atlantic there. So hopefully we don't get dry again this year. We needed a hurricane to come up through the Gulf of Mexico and save us last year. We didn't see it. We did see the moisture come last winter, but hopefully we don't get dry again this year, because during these strong El Ninos, we typically don't see the hurricane activity again like we typically do. Now, something I wanted to add to this webinar this month, this is a look at U.S. winter precipitation during El Ninos since 1950. Now, based on the latest El Nino Southern Oscillation discussion, the latest was issued June 8th, so we should be having another one come pretty soon. There's a 56% chance of a strong El Nino as we head into the winter months this year, and an 84% chance of exceeding moderate strength. So very good possibility we're looking at a moderate to strong El Nino. Sometimes you have a weak El Nino in place or weak La Nina. Precipitation temperatures could really go either way. But whenever you see a moderate to strong El Nino, we get a better idea of what's likely to occur. This is a look at the difference from average precipitation for all these strong El Ninos. There's 6 total strong El Ninos back to 1950 and 6 total moderate El Ninos going back to 1950. And most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, we see some of these browner colors here in the bluegrass state, signaling below normal precipitation during the winter months. So again, it's not a guarantee, but most of the time with these moderate to strong El Nino events, we see below normal precipitation here in the state of Kentucky. You even can carry that over to weak El Ninos for the most part. 1976, 77, strong below normal precipitation signature right there in the lower Ohio Valley. But something to watch moving forward. We'll continue to evaluate this moving forward. Look at the monthly stream flow outlook. We're looking better. Normal stream flows for the month of July favored for most of Kentucky. You see, you get up there in Indiana, southern Ohio below normal stream flows, but we'll take those green shades. We look at the U.S. seasonal drought outlook. This goes through the end of September now, and we're looking for good news. We see those dark green colors there showing drought removal likely. So we'll take that. Hopefully this next couple weeks here in July takes care of these drought concerns moving forward out in the purchase area, and again there in the northern bluegrass. And then the fire potential moving forward, we're good here in the bluegrass state. The main concern is up there in the Wisconsin, Michigan area, eastern Missouri, and up there in the northwestern United States. And something I'll mention, I mean, you go into wildfire season up here in the Northwest, and sometimes we can get those hazy conditions if the upper level patterns are ripe to get some of that smoky air pushing into Kentucky. But as it says now, we're looking all right. So in summary, dry first half of June, transition to a wet second half. We saw some pretty extreme rainfall events the past week, and pushed June as a whole slightly below normal. Sorry, my Ring doorbell's going off now. But anyways, drought conditions greatly improved. Soil moisture and stream flows looking a lot better from where we were over the first couple weeks of June. Wet conditions favored the next couple weeks. And again, El Nino strongly favored as we head into winter 2023-24. Now, something else I'll mention. This is Jerry. It was awesome. I got to go to the ribbon cutting there for what is now the 78th Kentucky Mesonet Station in Russell County. This was in early June. Great turnout there. Really happy to have this station down there in the Lake Cumberland region. And yeah, so great. I won't spoil the news, but there will be another Kentucky Mesonet station coming on board here pretty soon, and something to keep an eye on. So I'll open up to questions and discussion now. Our next webinar is scheduled for August 3rd, again, the first Thursday of the month. You see all our contact information there and the information for the Kentucky Drought and Hydrologic Impact Reporter. You know, it doesn't just have to be dry out there to submit a report. We also want to know if it's pretty wet out there. So again, thank you for joining us this month, and I'll open it up for questions.
Thanks, Matt. Just a quick comment. I think, and I'll have to go back and check if this is right, but I think that every month this calendar year has gotten slightly cooler relative to the average. I know January, February, we started off near, and again, I'll have to check. It was either the first or the second warmest January, same with February. And we've cooled off every month since then. And I like the trend.
I definitely don't mind it at this time of year. So
And just one other comment, I've noticed in those seasonal outlooks, they have backed off precip for this winter. And again, I think that's probably a reflection of what you were showing with the El Nino, and I mean the El Nino pattern setting up. But yeah, you're right. I don't think we should put a lot of stock into those seasonal forecasts, but it does look like INSO is making its way into those seasonal outlooks. Any other questions for Matt? And my apologies for getting that email out at the last minute, but we have a good turnout despite that.
I will add, I know we did this last month, but if any of you all have impact related information on maybe how things are looking in your county as it sits right now, it's more than welcome. So I know Chip would really appreciate it.
This is Greg Drake down in Butler County. We were beginning to really be in problem area dry wise, and probably in between 4 and 10 inches in the county since the rain started, but we're just far enough south that the Rough River didn't flood us. But a lot of Ohio County in the Rough River bottoms, it's drowned quite a bit of corn out up through there. So they were in the southern edge of that cell that you were showing that got a lot of Davis and Hancock County, and the Rough River got out and stayed out and flooded some crop, some corn and soybeans.
Man, talk about one extreme to another. I know that's been an issue over the past decade. I think I've said this on some other webinars, but seemed like, a 1-2 inch rainfall event was a pretty significant rainfall here in the state. But the past several years, I mean, these 4 or 5 inch events seem like they're occurring much more frequently. So
Hey Matt, this is Ben Rudy down here in Fulton County.
hey Ben.
And well, we've had rain in Fulton. We've had rain west of Hickman in the lower bottom Kentucky Bend area. Let's see, I think Mesonet showed, Mesonet showing 1 4/10 at the site there at the school outside of Hickman. But just about 2 miles south of Casey, where I live, I've only had about 4/10 for the whole month. So rain has been here, there, and yonder, but hadn't been in the central part of the county. A couple weeks ago, we had a good 2 inch rain across majority of the county. When I say 2 inches, it was actually 2 inches plus. I think everybody had about 2. Some had almost up to 3 inches. So
yeah,
luckily that kind of saved us to some extent, but we've got places that haven't really picked up the rain. And so we're not in a critical point, but we're starting to hurt in some places. And of course, we've got quite a bit of corn starting to pollinate now.
Yeah. Definitely need this rain to verify over the next couple of weeks. So
yeah, I'd be nice especially if this rain verifies over the weekend.
yeah. That's been a problem this past month is I know I've been writing that ag weather update and seemed like first couple weeks of June the outlooks were looking pretty favorable for Western Kentucky to see above normal rainfall. It just never panned out until I guess you were saying that 2-inch event latter June, but yeah, definitely need this rain to verify moving forward. So
Yeah. So if you have any good recommendations for rain dances, please send those on.
oh man, I'll try. Anybody else? Well, go ahead, Jerry. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was just gonna thank you for the webinar today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Well, thanks everyone. And we'll hopefully see everyone back here a month from now, August 3rd. Thank you. Thanks, Matt.